Marvel fatigue is real and thriving behind the scenes in Hollywood. Visionary directors who've made some of the best films we've seen have shared their thoughts on the cinematic universe, and they're not the most supportive of opinions. In this video, we'll be talking about 10 renowned filmmakers who have criticized the Marvel Cinematic Universe. First up at number 10, the man who started it all. Content warning: if you're a die-hard MCU fan, we'd suggest you not to watch this video because some of the things these auteurs say are a little ugly. Don't forget to leave a like before you switch tabs. Anyway, Martin Scorsese was the person who not only made amazing movies like Goodfellas, Gangs of New York, and The Wolf of Wall Street, but also began the whole Marvel debate. Can these movies be considered to be a part of cinema? Well, Martin has a thing or two in mind. In an interview back in 2019, Scorsese said that these films aren't cinema. He then continued to relate these movies to nothing more than theme park rides, which makes sense because almost every audience watching the latest blockbuster end up screaming and cheering when their favorite hero in spandex shows up. Fans were furious and tried to defend Marty's words with pictures of space aliens, talking rocks, indestructible shields, and Jeremy Renner. Sorry to say, but the 80-year-old veteran can't hear you from his million-dollar mansion, and quite honestly, doesn't care. Scorsese also talked about how these films failed to convey the emotional and psychological experiences that humans go through. One of the angry people in Hollywood was Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn, who posted a very long paragraph on Instagram, trying his best to be both respectful and to put up a decent argument. The picture to back him up? A talking raccoon and a tree. Up next at number 9, another mob flick director, Francis Ford Coppola. The legend behind the Godfather trilogy and Apocalypse Now weighed in his thoughts and supported his friend's statement about the movies being theme park rides. Coppola added that films are supposed to enlighten and inspire you while teaching something along the way, and in his opinion, these repetitive movies don't get the job done. Martin may have been putting things lightly with his words, but the godfather of cinema doesn't understand what people get out of watching the same thing over and over again. This is kind of one of the biggest criticisms of the MCU today. Apart from the forced humor, of course, people are slowly realizing that every installation of the franchise comprises the same plot. The good guy is introduced, the bad guy is introduced, finding an important thing while beating up the bad guys, epic CGI fight, which is an eyesore, the bad guy is defeated, and then a post-credit scene. Voila! You have yourself a movie worth over $500 million at the box office. No wonder these other directors are mad. Did you know that The Wolf of Wall Street made just a fraction above $400 million? Thor: Love and Thunder made twice as much. When the man who made one of the best trilogies ever to exist criticizes your favorite franchise for being repetitive and bad, you just know there's something wrong. Following up with Ken Loach at number 8. Speaking of box office numbers, Sorry We Missed You director talked about how there's a lack of creativity and imagination. Instead of relating the universe to theme park rides as Scorsese did, Loach described them as hamburgers. No, you heard that right. The British filmmaker said that MCU films are made as commodities like hamburgers, and that it's not about communicating anything, nor is it about sharing imagination. It's a standard 90 to 120 minute movie with no substance and would end up making a huge profit for an even bigger corporation. He quoted English poet William Blake and said, "When money is discussed, art is impossible." Now for another theme park argument at number 7. Jodie Foster is known for her roles in The Silence of the Lambs, Panic Room, and Taxi Driver, but she's had many directorial features such as episodes in House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, and Black Mirror. Like the Shutter Island director, Foster called these movies theme park rides. Well, technically, she said that going to the cinemas is like a theme park. She added how the studios make bad content that would appeal to the general audience while calling the process fracking. The company's benefiting the most out of this, but is ruining the world and, in this case, how people expect movies to be. This interview took place back in 2017, 2 years before Marty voiced his thoughts, and the part where she said that Marvel movies are ruining the perception of the masses has already shown its effects with another superhero franchise that is struggling to stay alive to this day. Many people despise Zack Snyder's version of comic book films since he tried portraying these fictional heroes differently. Although fans expected a joke to be cracked with each passing second in his movies, Snyder received support from other directors and actors. So in the end, who's the real winner here? Coming up at number 6, what did the Parasite director have to say? Most filmmakers have an issue with storytelling and money grabbing when it comes to MCU movies. On the other hand, Bong Joon-ho has a much more personal issue with the franchise franchise. The Okja director doesn't like what the heroes wear in the movies. And no, it's not his inner fashion police talking, but the fact that the costumes are almost always tightly fitted makes him feel uncomfortable. Bong would never be able to stand behind the camera with his actors dressed like that in front of him. The Academy Award-winning director did say that he wouldn't mind trying out a superhero film if the protagonist has a bulkier costume because, unlike the other members on this list, he admires and respects the creativity of these films. Fun fact, Ho has worked with Captain America himself in Snowpiercer and described Chris Evans as someone who slips on fish. We get how filmmakers use complicated metaphors and have a way of expressing their opinions, but if we're being honest right now, we have absolutely no idea what Bong meant by Chris slipping on fish. Moving on to Lucrecia Martel's unhinged opinion at number 5. The Argentinian art house filmmaker was offered to direct the Black Widow solo film in 2018, but due to creative differences, the project never saw the light of day. This was because Marvel suggested taking care of the film's action sequences, but Martel wanted them to handle the VFX instead. In her words, all those laser lights during shooting were horrible. Her criticism didn't stop there, no siree. According to Lucrecia, the soundtracks of Marvel films are quite horrendous, which makes the movies very hard to watch. She says it's painful to the ears to watch a Marvel film. Oh, come on, that's not always true. Kendrick Lamar's album for Black Panther was great, wasn't it? Maybe she's just not a fan of that genre of music. Now, for the Blade Runner director's opinion at number 4. When asked why he doesn't work with Marvel or DC, Ridley Scott gave a very explicit response with language we're not sure whether to use in this video or not. So we'll try to keep it as G-rated as possible. The House of Gucci director simply said they're not his thing, and they're very boring with bad scripts. In his words, he prefers to continue making smart films. He's been approached by both franchises several times, but Scott can't believe in a superhero's thin, unrealistic situation. Again, these movies don't do the best of jobs when trying to convey the human condition. Let's talk about someone from DC at number 3. It's hard to imagine someone who worked with Marvel's opposing franchise publicly speaking ill about the comic book genre, but Patty Jenkins talked about how she dislikes how things run over there. Initially, the Wonder Woman director was set to shoot Thor: The Dark World, but exited the project due to creative differences. She said that they want to take control of a lot of things, including the stuff a director's supposed to do. It ruins creative freedom, and the filmmaker can't add their signature touch to their projects. Jenkins assured that she loves and appreciates the staff at Marvel Studios, but she's not a fan of how the director is left with so little to work with. Wonder Woman and its sequels were examples of Patty excelling at what she knows best. Unfortunately, her hot streak was cut short because she won't be directing another part anymore, but that's a topic for another video. Up next at number 2, the Birdman director gives his opinion. Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu blew our minds with how the 2014 film starring Michael Keaton and Emma Stone was shot, but the Mexican director said that although he enjoys Marvel films as pastimes to finish your popcorn, he feels like there's a disease not to grow up because we're not 7 years old anymore. He then called the genre and Marvel the poison and cultural genocide because the audience wants nothing more than meaningless explosions and poorly choreographed action sequences. Lastly, at number 1, Quentin Tarantino and his beef with Marvel. The feat-loving Django Unchained directing maestro of cinema has called out the franchise on Marvelizing Hollywood. His gripe is that they don't make stars anymore because the characters steal all the spotlight, leaving nothing for the actors to work with. You wouldn't give Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth the same hype you gave Sandra Bullock back when she starred in Speed, right? Tarantino also doesn't like how grown adults are adoring the franchise aimed at children. This got many reactions from fans, haters, and Simu Liu, the Shang-Chi actor. We've spent this entire video hating on Marvel. We should address the fact that this universe has brought childhood heroes onto the big screen in a very enjoyable manner for the masses to enjoy. The movies tend to be full of joy and adventure, giving the audience a brief moment to immerse into their fictional universe. See, we can be neutral about this. What about you? What do you think about these directors' opinions? Let us know in the comments below. As always, leave a like and hit that subscribe button to see more of our content, and we'll catch you in the next one.